Part 2. Watch your words. Repeat anything often enough and it will start to become you. Tom Hopkins. Lesson 6. Your words blaze a trail. The words you consistently select will shape your destiny. Anthony Robbins. When was the last time you seriously thought about the words you use each and every day? How carefully do you select them? Now you might be thinking,
Jeff, why all this fuss about words? What's the big deal?
the answer is simple. Your words have incredible power. They can build a bright future, destroy opportunity, or help maintain the status quo. Your words reinforce your beliefs, and your beliefs create your reality. Think of this process as a row of dominoes that looks like this: thoughts to words, to beliefs, to actions, and to results. Here how it works. Tom has a thought such as,
I'm not very good when it comes to sales.
now let's remember that he doesn't have this thought only once. Oh no, he's run through it in his mind on a regular basis, maybe hundred and thousand of time in his life. Then Tom starts to use words that support to his thoughts. He says to his friend and colleagues, I'm
I'm never going to do very well in sales.
or I just
Just hate making sales call or approaching prospects.
here again. Tom repeats these phrases over and over and his self-talk and his discussion with others. This in turn strengthens his beliefs and it's stage where the rubber really meets the road. You see, everything that you'll achieve in your life flows from your beliefs. So, in our sales example, Tom develops the beliefs that he's not going to be successful in sales, that he won't earn much money. This becomes embedded in his subconscious mind. What can possibly flow from that belief? Because Tom doesn't believe that his sales ability, he takes very little action or he takes action that aren't productive. He doesn't do the things that would be necessary to succeed in sales. And then, quite predictably, Tom gets very poor results. To make matter worse, Tom then starts to think more and more negative thoughts, repeat more and more negative words, reinforce negative beliefs, and get even more negative results. It's a vicious cycle. Words are, of course, the most powerful drug used by mankind by Rudyard Kipling. Of course, this whole process could had a very happy ending if Tom had selected the positive thoughts and reinforced them with positive words. In turn, he'd reinforce the belief that he's successful in sales. As a result, Tom would take action consistent with that belief and end up the outstanding results. My point is my point is, don't underestimate the role of your words in this process. People who feed themselves a steady of negative diet words are destined to have a negative attitude. It's simple matter of cause and effect. You can't keep repeating negative words and expect to be high achiever. And that's because negative words will always lead the reinforcement of negative beliefs and eventually to a negative outcomes. Why you don't want me to fix anything in your home? When it comes to home repairs, I'm lost. You want me to repair a faucet or fix something in the toilet tank? I'd be a better chance of reaching the top of Mount Everest, carpentry or electric wiring. I haven't got a clue. You want know how ultimate actually heal. It's those instruction sheets that explain how to assemble something that you've just taken out of the box. You know that what I mean, those black and white booklets with reference to figure 10a that show you or claim to show you where all the nut and bolts go and how all the parts fit together. Instruction sheet had the same effect on me as a kryptonite had on a Superman. If you recall the old Superman programs, the villain would shoot bullets and the bullets bounced off his chest harmlessly. But there was one substance that Superman could not defend. That's kryptonite. Whenever the bad guy held a piece of kryptonite, Superman could probably and began to lose his powers. Well, when I see an instruction sheet, I get weak in the knees and lose my powers. I just know it's useless for me even to look at it. There's no way I'm going to understand it. So I put down the instruction and yell for Dolores to come and show what is to. For Dolores, it's a piece of cake. How did it come to this? I don't claim to be a smartest guy in the world, but I consider myself to be a reasonably intelligent. Am I missing some gene for home repair skills that other people were given? No, that's not it either. The answer is quite obvious. For the last 40 years, I have repeatedly said I'm good
At mechanical things, I can't fix anything.
and lo and behold, after 40 years of using negative words, I've developed a strong belief that I can do these things. Do you see how I created this situation by not being careful about the words I used? And the truth is, I could eventually reverse this trend if I'd start using a positive words about my ability to make repairs. Scientists' work are worth that looking at. Years ago, I read an article about Kent Cullers, a scientist who headed NASA's search for extraterrestrial intelligence project. Cullers, who has a doctorate in physics, was developing a software that searches for radio signals indicating the presence of other forms in universe. Sounds like a Star Trek, doesn't it? But make no mistake about it. This is pretty technical scientific research. And yet, Cullers had a physical challenge to contend with. Let me tell you how he describes it. He refers to his condition as a trivial affliction and just barely an inconvenience. What is Culler's particular physical change? A touch of arthritis or an occasional migraine headache? Ken Culler is blind. That's right, he's blind. Isn't it incredible that someone can't describe blindness as a trivial affliction or just barely an inconvenience? By using these words, Ken Cullers is empowering himself to achieve great things. He doesn't give any power to his limitations. As a result, he is able to transcend them and accomplish more and more those who have their sight. What obstacles are you facing in your life now? Imagine the power you could unleash if you saw them as just barely an inconvenience instead of an insurmountable barrier. To tell or not to tell. When I speak about importance of using positive language to move towards your goal, some of you may wondering, Jack,
F. Do I say these positive words to myself or do I say these words to other people? You may
afraid that if you tell others about your goals, they'll think you are being a conceited and they may even laugh at you. Allow me to suggest a few guidelines in this area, with the understanding that there are no hard and fast rules and should do what work best for you. To begin with, use positive self-talk as often as possible. In my view, the more and merrier. After all, you're talking to yourself, so you don't have to worry about others hearing your comments. The key is that you hear this positive input again and again, and it becomes deeply rooted in your subconscious mind. Whether to share your goals with other people is a much trickier issue. One thing I've learned is this: never discuss your goals with negative people. All they'll do is argue and point out all the reasons why you won't be successful. Who need that? Often these negative Nellies are ones who do little or do nothing in their own lives. They have no goals or dreams and they don't want anyone else to succeed either. Yet, there are some instances when you can benefit by telling others about your goal. First of all, make sure that you are speaking with someone who is extremely positive and totally supportive of your efforts. This should be kind of person who would be absolutely delighted if you achieved this goal and would anything in his or her power to assist you. You may have a friend or colleague who fits in this role, or certain family members. It's also important to share your goals with others who are working with you to achieve that outcome. For example, if a sales manager wants to increase sales in a coming year by 20%, he or she would make this goal unknown to everyone on the staff. Then everyone can work together to achieve that. Even though I'm encouraging you to use positive words to move you towards your goal and your objectives, I'm not suggesting that you ignore the obstacles that you may face or that you discourage feedback from other people. Before embarking on any goal, you want to prepare for what may be coming down the road. Personally, I prefer to discuss those issues with someone who is positive someone whose feedback includes creative solutions to the difficulties that may arise. Furthermore, I'll only discuss my plans with sub people who are qualified to render an intelligent opinion on the subject. If you are thinking of going into your own business, it simply makes sense to consult with your Uncle Elmer. Especially, Uncle Elmer is negative and worked for someone else all of his life. What he know about owning a business? He will give you a list of reasons not to go into the business for yourself. After a little chat, Uncle Elmer, you start doubt yourself. You don't need that kind of help, words and accountability. There's another reason why in some cases you might decide share your goal with someone else, and that's for accountability. In other words, if I tell others I'm going to do something, then I have to go ahead and to do it. Think of this approach as burning your bridges. Let me assure you, I'm not a believer on burning bridges when it comes to a personal or business relationship. But sometimes the only way to move forward in life and to achieve an ambitious goal is to cut off all avenues of retreat. This can be a very useful strategy. We may tell a friend that we are going to work out at the gym 3 times this week, knowing that at the end of this week, this friend will ask whether we did, in fact, go to gym 3 times. The people who always talk about lack of money generally don't accumulate much of it. By Jeff Keller. An even more dramatic example is that well-known motivational speaker Zig Ziglar. Ziglar decided to go on a diet and reduce his weight from 202 pounds to 165 pounds. And the same time he was writing the book See You at the Top. In the book, Ziegler included as a statement he got his weight down to 165 pounds. This was 10 months before the book went to press. And then he placed an order with the printer for 25,000 copies. Now remember, at the time he wrote these words, Ziegler actually weighed 202. He put his credibility on the line with 25,000 peoples. By including a statement that he weighed 165 pounds, Ziegler knew that he had to lose 37 pounds before the book was printed, and it did. Use this strategy selectively, limit it to those goals that are very important to you and where you're committed to go to distance. Is it risky? You bet it is. But it's a tremendous motivator. Words and emotions. In his best selling book, Awaken Giant Within, Anthony Robbins devotes an entire chapter to the way in which our vocabulary affects our emotions, our beliefs, our effectiveness in life. I don't agree with all Robbins' philosophies, but his observation about the power of words are right on the mark. Robin is keenly aware of how certain words impact our emotional intensity. For instance, let's say that someone has lied to you. You could react by saying that you're angry or upset. If, however, you use the word furious, livid, or enraged, your physiology and your subsequent behavior would be dramatically altered. Your blood pressure would rise, your face would turn beet red, you'll feel tense all over. On the other hand, what if you characterized situation as annoying or said that you were peeved? This lowers your emotional intensity considerably. In fact, saying that you're peeved explains Robbins will probably make you laugh and break negative emotions cycle completely. You'd be much more relaxed. Robin gives other example of how you can lower the intensity of negative emotions. Imagine, for instance, replacing I've been destroyed with I've been setback, or using the phrase I prefer instead of I hate. Of course, you can also intentionally select words to heighten positive emotions. Instead of saying I'm determined, why not you say I'm unstoppable? Or in place of saying declaring that you feel okay, try to feel I feel phenomenal or I feel just tremendous. Juicy, exciting words like that lift your spirits to a higher level and profoundly influences those around you. When you consciously decide to use such terms, you are actually choosing to change the path on which you've been traveling. Others will respond to differently and you will alter your perception of yourself as well. A closer look at your words. Let's take a look at your life and wait for a moment. And there are any areas you've been using phrases like I can't, I'm no good at, and it's possible. We all know people who make statements like these: I can't draw, I'm not good at maths, I can't remember names, it's impossible for me to make that kind of money. When you make these comments day in a day out for 10 or 20 or 30 years, you are programming your mind for failure. It all comes back with your attitude. Every one of these examples reflects a negative attitude, and if you see the world through a smudged window, you are going to use negative language and get disappointment results. Choose words will point you in the direction of your goals by Jeff Keller. Fortunately, you can control words, which means that you have the ability to build a positive belief system and to produce the results you want. The first step is awareness. Let's examine the phrases you've been using in four key areas of your life: relationship, finances, career, and health. First, relationship. Do you see that like all the good men or women are taken, or people are always taking advantage of me? If you do, you are literally programming yourself for unhappy relationship. Your mind hears every word you speak and it sets out to prove you right. With regard to our above examples, your mind will see to it that you attract only those persons who will disappoint you or take advantage of you. Is this what you want? If not, stop repeating and causing your mind to focus on such negative statements. Finances. What words do you use on a regular basis to describe your current financial situation and its prospects for the future? Phrases such
As I'm always in a debt, the economy is lousy, no one is buying, work against you.
far better to choose the language which reaffirms prosperity and better economic times. Of course, you won't necessarily have abundant wealth within a few days after changing the way you speak, but the physical conditions can change only after your beliefs have altered. Clearing up your language is an important first step. After all, the people with the wealth in this world didn't get that way by moaning about being in poverty, and the people who always talk about a lack of money generally don't accumulate much of it. Third, career. If I were to ask about how your career prospects over the next 5 to 10 years, how would you respond? Be honest. Would you say that things will probably remain the same as they are now? Or would you describe a high position with more challenges, more responsibilities, and increased financial rewards? If you respond,
I don't know where I'm going in my career.
chances are not much will change. Your language reflects your lack of vision direction. If, on the other hand, you have a clear goal which you can and do articulate fairly often, even if only to yourself, you stand an excellent chance of reaching that goal. The same, of course, holds true if you have your own business. Do you use language that is consistent with the growth of your business, or do you constantly talk about how you'll never get to the next level? Health. Without question, our words have profound impact on our health. For example, imagine that a group of us sat down to eat seemed to be perfectly wholesome and delicious meal. Then 2 hours later, I called you and told that every person who ate with us had been rushed to hospital and treated for food poisoning. Suppose that you felt perfectly fine before I called. How would you react after hearing? Most likely you'd clutch your stomach, get pale, and feel very ill. Why? Because my words instilled a belief in you, which in turn your body started acting upon. This same bodily reaction would have occurred even if I was playing a cruel joke and was lying about the whole situation. Your body responds to words it hears you and other people that say. That's why it makes absolutely no sense to keep repeating that you have chronic back pain that will never go away, or that you get 3 or 4 bad colds every year. By uttering these statements, you are actually instructing your body to manifest this pain and disease. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not suggesting that you deny pain or disease or that you can overcome any illness, but there's certainly nothing to be gained and much harm that can follow from using language and that reinforces suffering and incurability. You have a choice. Well, have you thought about the words you use in these four areas in your life? When we repeat certain phrases over and over, is it as a groove is formed in our brain? We keep replaying the same old refrain in our heads like a broken record. The trouble is whenever you say these words, you just deepen the groove, replaying the same old myths in your mind, strengthening the same old beliefs and getting the same old results. Recognize, however, that just because of you said things in the past, there's no reason to blindly continue doing so. While it takes some discipline and vigilance on your part to make changes in your language, it's well worth the effort. So, from now, consciously choose words that will point you in the direction of your goals. Ask a friend to remind when you sleep. Remember, it's up to you to speak in a way that will move you toward that what you want in your life. Therefore, use words that are consistent with the path you truly wish to be on. Take action along those lines and watch yourself begin to travel in the wonderful direction.
Lesson 7. How are you?
Your day goes the way the corners of your mouth turn. Unknown. Our answer to the question, how are you, seems like much small thing. But we must answer that question at least 10 times a day and perhaps many as 50. So it's not a small thing at all. It's a significant part of our daily conversation. When someone asks, how are you? What do you say? Your answer is usually no more than a few words. And yet, in that fact, response tells a lot about you and your attitude. In fact, your response can literally shape your attitude. I observed that the response to how are you can be classified into three categories: negative, mediocre, and positive. Let's examine these categories and some common responses under each one. Negative responses. The negative responses to how are you include phrases such as
Lousy. Terrible. I'm tired. It's not my day. Thank God it's Friday. A day older and a dollar broker. Don't ask.
someone responds with don't ask. I know I'm in trouble. That person is going to unleash a multitude of complaints and make me sorry for asking how are you in the first place. And I really pity those who take the
Thank God it's Friday.
approach to life. Think what they are saying. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are bad days every week. For these people, fourth, fifth of their work week is lousy. The fifth day, Friday, is bearable only because they know they'll have next 2 days off. Is this a way to live your life? Are you beginning to see how these negative phrases can poison your attitude and turn off other people? Mediocre responses. Those in mediocre group are step up from negative bunch, but they still have plenty of room for improvement. Here are some of these things they saw.
I'm okay. Not
Bad. Could be worse.
same old.
Hang in there.
Fine.
Do you really want to spend a lot of time with someone who thinks that is life not too
Bad. Is that
person you want to business with? When we use words like these, we also diminish our energy. Can you imagine someone saying could be worse?
with that approach?
Posture and a lot of enthusiasm? Of course not. These people sound like they haven't slept in 2 days. There's no getting around. People who use mediocre words will develop a mediocre attitude and get mediocre results. And I know you don't want to do that. Positive responses. Then there's positive approach. These are enthusiastic people who say terrific, fantastic, great, excellent, superb, I'm the top of the world. It doesn't get any better. Those who use positive like these have a bounce in their steps and you feel little better just by being around them. Be honest, how did you feel as you read the positive list? I don't know about you, but I am energized and excited. I review that list. These are the people I look forward to meeting today. These are the people who are more likely to get my business. A smile is an inexpensive way to improve your looks by unknown. Why not to go back and reread the negative list and the mediocre lists? Say them out loud. How do they make you feel? bummed out for sure. You see, if given the choice, I'd rather to be around people who are positive and full of life as opposed to those who are negative and listless. It's like a old saying that everybody lights up a room some when they walk into the room and when walk out. You want to be only the one who lights up the room when you walk in. As for me, when someone asks me how are you, I usually respond with terrific. It projects a positive attitude to the person, and the more I say, more I feel terrific. Join the positive group. Well, you had a chance to review some typical responses in each category: negative, mediocre, and positive. Which of these phrases do you use most often? Which responses do your family uses? If you find yourself in the negative or mediocre group, I suggest you immediately consider revising your responses and joining the ranks of positive. Here's why. When you are asked how are you and you say horrible, not too bad, your physiology adversely affected. You tend to slump and your shoulders and head take on a depressed posture. What about your emotions? After stating that you're lousy, do you feel better? Of course not. You feel even more down in the dumps because negative words and thoughts generate negative feelings and eventually negative results. And it's up to you to break it. Even if real circumstances in your life persuaded you to state that you are lousy, perhaps a promising business deal fell through, your child received a poor grades in school, your gloomy attitude does nothing to improve the situation. To make matter worse, your mediocre negative reply turns out off, they are dragged down just being around you and hearing your pessimism. Form a new habit. If all of these negative consequences flow from your words, why do you continue to say them? More than likely, it's because you haven't recognized that you have a choice in the matter. Instead, you're following a habit that you developed many years ago and a habit that no longer serves you. In the end, your own words are self fulfilling prophecy. If you are saying everything is terrible, your mind is attracted to those people and circumstances that will cause the statement to be true. If, on the other hand, you repeatedly state that your life is wonderful, your mind will begin to move in a positive direction. For instance, just consider what happens when you respond that you are excellent or terrific. As you say these words, your physiology begins to correspond with your optimistic language. Your posture is more upright, and other people are attracted to your energy and vitality. Your business and personal relationships improve. Will all of your life problems magically disappear? No. But you've set in a motion a very important principle. We get what we expect in life. I can tell you from the first hand experience that is this one of those little things in life that makes a big difference. About 25 years ago, when someone asked me, how are you? I'd say something like, okay, with very little energy. You know what? Doing I was programming myself to have okay relationship with the people. I was programming myself to have okay success. I was programming myself to have an okay attitude and an okay in life. But then, thank goodness, I learned that I didn't have to settle for an okay life. So I picked up the responses a few notches and began to say, terrific! I said it with some little energy, more. Sure, at first it was a little uncomfortable. Some people looked at me like I was a little strange. But about after a week, it started to come naturally to me. And I was amazed at how much better I felt and how much people were more interested in talking with me. Believe me, this is not a rocket science. You don't need a talent, money, or good looks to have a great attitude. You just need to get in the habit using a high energy and positive responses, and you will get the same exciting results I got. What if I don't feel terrific? Whenever I do presentation and recommended audience and they gave me very upbeat response to how are you, someone always comes up with me and says,
What if I really don't feel terrific? Don't want to lie to my friends and co-workers by telling them everything is wonderful when it isn't.
now don't get me wrong, I put the highest value on the integrity and telling the truth. Yet I don't think that this is a matter of telling the truth. Let me explain. Assume for a moment that Salty feels tired. When someone asks us how are you, she wants to be perfectly honest, so she said,
I am tired.
here's what will happen. Sally will reinforce the belief that she is tired. She'll feel even more fatigued. She'll probably slump her shoulders and let out a sigh. She'll have a lousy, unproductive day at work. And let's go back to the person who asked Sally the question and who probably regrets it now. That person also feels worse. And after all, when someone tells you how tired she is, do you feel uplifted? No way. Just the suggestion of the word tired. You started yawning. Ah. So, Sally has brought herself down as well as her co-worker. Okay, Sally goes house after her grueling day. Now she's exhausted, so she plops into her favorite chair and opens newspaper to look after the winning lottery numbers. As she pulls out her own ticket, she discovers that she's holding winning ticket. She just won $10 million. What do you think Sally would do? Remember, she's very tired. You and I both know that Sally would leap out of her chair, be jumping and up, down, screaming and waving her arms in the air. You'd think she was leading an aerobics class. Naturally, she'd run to pick up the phone to call her family and friends. She'd be a bundle of energy and would probably stay all night celebrating and planning to vote with the money. But wait a second. 10 seconds ago, this woman was exhausted. Now she got the energy of a 15-year-old cheerleader who had just told that made cheerleading squad. What happened in those 10 seconds to make someone change someone from being utterly exhausted to wildly exuberant? Did she get a shot of vitamin B12? No. Did anyone throw a bucket of ice water in her face? No. A cloudy day is no match for a sunny disposition. Willem Athord Ward. No, her transformation was entirely mental. Now I'm not trying to diminish what Sally was feeling. Her fatigue was real, but I was and as much physical as mental. So was Sally telling the truth when she said that she was tired? It is really very little to do with the truth. It's a matter of Sally choose to focus on. She could concentrate on feeling tired, and that was one option. On the other hand, she could have thought about many blessings in her life and felt fortunate and energized. How we feel is very often as a subjective matter. When we tell ourselves that we are tired and we feel we are tired, when we tell ourselves that we feel terrific, we feel energized. As you will recall from lesson 2, we become what we think about. Respond with enthusiasm. For the next month, try this experiment when someone asks, "How are you?" Whether it's someone at work or cashier at the store, respond with energy and enthusiasm. You're great or terrific. Say it with a smile and sparkle in your eye. It doesn't matter whether you are not completely and totally feeling terrific at that moment. Simply apply the act as a principle. In other words, if you want to be more positive, act as if you are already here, and pretty soon you'll find that you have, in fact, become more positive. Don't worry if you feel a little uncomfortable saying these words in the beginning. Stick with it, and eventually you will grow into it. You will quickly notice that you are feeling better, that others want to be around you, and that positive results will come on your way. By the way, how are you? I can almost hear you say, terrific! Lesson 8. Stop complaining. Troubles, like babies, grow larger by nursing, by Lady Holland. How do you feel when someone unloads all of his problem and complaints on you? Not very uplifting and energizing, is it? The truth is, nobody likes to be around a complainer except perhaps other complainers. Of course, all of us complain at one time or another. The important question is, how often do you complain? If you're wondering whether you complain too much, simply ask your friends, relatives, and co-workers. They'll let you know. Now, when I say complain, I'm not talking about those instances when you discuss your problem with an attempt to search for a solution. That's constructive and commendable. And I'm not referring to those occasions when you share your life experience, including disappointments, with your friend or relatives, in context of bringing them up to date on the latest development in your life. After all, the power of a human being is sharing our experience and supporting each other. Nobody wants to hear about your aches and pains. Maybe a few examples will give you a better idea about the kind of complaining that's counterproductive. One of the most areas of complaint is the subject of illness. In this category are comments such as,
My neck is killing me. I have terrible sinus
Worse yet, some people get a graphic explain the gory of details on the particular ailment such as
I had green stuff oozing out my.
and doesn't it make your day when your coworker tells that he or she is nauseous? Let's face it, what I can possibly do for you if I have stomachache? I'm not physician to go to a doctor to have medical problem. More importantly, why are you telling me this? You might want sympathy, but all you're doing is dragging me down and reinforcing your own suffering. Talking about your pain and discomfort will only bring you more of the same and encourage around you to look for the exits. Self pity is an acid which eats holes in happiness. By Earl Nightingale. When it comes to complaints about illness, the principle of escalation usually rears its ugly head. Here's how it works. You tell your friends about the agony and you went through it with the flu. Your friend interrupts and says,
You think you had it bad? When I had the flu, I had 140-degree fever, and I had to rush to the hospital. I almost died.
or tell someone that your back or foot hurts and count how many seconds it takes for that person to switch to conversation to his or her own back pain, aching feet. Complainers love to play this game. Their pain is always worse than yours. Don't let it rain on your parade. Another favorite complaint in area is weather. It starts to rain and people say,
What a lousy miserable day! Why does someone monster the hair and make it lousy day?
someone makes that remarks to me. I respond, it's wet out, but it's a great day still. By associating rain lousy day, you're programming yourself a negative way. Furthermore, your complaints about the weather won't change the condition. It simply makes no sense to get upset about things over which you have no control and which have no significant impact on your life. Finally, there are petty complaints such as the waiter didn't come over to take my order for 5 minutes or
John got an office with a larger window than I have.
life presents so many difficult challenges for us to get bogged down with silly things like that. And when you gripe about insignificant things, you're also saying that something you're about yourself. If I am the employer of your member and your team, I'm wondering how you'll react when we really have problem worth worrying about. He had every reason to complain. Several years ago, I was in my office and thinking about some things that weren't going as well as I had planned. You know, the typical business problems, results not happening fast I had expected. And I'll confess that I'd been doing a little complaining about it. Then Pedro walked in. Pedro is in early 20s and came to this country about 6 years ago from the Honduras. He works for a company that cleans homes and offices. You talk about a positive attitude. Pedro is one of the most positive people I have ever met and always smiling and upbeat. On this day, however, I asked Pedro about Hurricane Mitch and its impact on the homeland. The smile quickly left his face. He told me that devastation and the hurricane had caused. Thousands of people had died. More than 1 million people were left homeless. Pedro said that his father, mother, and brother still lived in Honduras, and he had no idea if they were dead or alive. He had no way to contact them. On the phone lines in area had been destroyed. Pedro said that he thought his family every day. Can you imagine the agony or not even knowing in your family is still alive? Then Pedro went to tell me about all the things he was doing to help people in Honduras. He was collecting money, clothing, and other necessities. He was actively working with the relief organizations. Instead of just griping about the problem, he was doing whatever he could to ease the pain. After speaking with Pedro, I began to realize that how inconsequential my own problems were and how fortunate I am. I better believe I stopped complaining. I faced the rest of the day with renewed energy and much better attitude. By the way, several weeks later, I saw Pedro again. And yes, he had usual willing smile and great attitude. The good news that his family members all alive. The bad news is that lost everything in the flood and now living in a shelter. Clean water is very scarce. Disease is rampant. I can't even fathom what it's like to lose everything you own and have to start over a scratch, especially under these difficult conditions. Can you? The secret of happiness is to count your blessings while others are adding up their troubles. By William Penn. There's no doubt about it. Pedro has every reason whine about would be terrible waste of this time and energy. Thank you, Pedro, for reminding me all of us that complaint is not the answer to our challenges in life. putting things in perspective. There's another valuable lesson we can learn from Pedro, and that's importance of keeping things in perspective. Over the years, I've noticed that complainers lack of perspective. They tend to blow their problems way out of proportion. Optimistic people, people with great attitudes, tend have a sense of what's truly important in life. The dictionary defines perspective as the capacity to view things in their true relation or relative importance. Think about the people you know. Do you have friends who get bent out of the shape they got a flat tire? And how about those who sever ties with close family members because of a dispute over the seating arrangement at a wedding? It's clear these folks have lost the sights of the relative importance of the thing. I think we can learn from Eddie Rickenbacker, who drifted in a life raft for 21 days, hopeless, lost in Pacific. After surviving ordeal, Rick Banker said, "If you have all the fresh water you want to drink and all the food you want to eat, you ought never to complain about anything." Let me share you something I'm grateful for. I'm good in health. Dolores is good in health. We have our own home. We have plenty of food to eat and clean water to drink. We live United States and enjoy freedom. I love my work. I get to travel and meet fascinating people. I have many loyal friends. I draw strength from my relationship with God. This is a partial list of the blessings in my life, and you know what? Even if with all these wonderful things, there are times when I start to take some of them for granted. But I've learned quickly to reconnect with these blessings, and it boosts my attitude and brings me right back on course. Reflect upon your present blessings, of which every man has plenty, not on your past misfortunes, of which all men have some. By Charles Dickens. So, what is it that you've been complaining about lately? Are they really life and death matters? The next time you're tempted to gripe about your problems, pick a pen and piece of paper and start listing the reason you have been grateful to. Let me tell you, it sure begins complaining. Be a source of positive news. I'm not suggesting that you sit back and ignore all the problems in your life. However, rather than complaining, it's far better to focus on your attention and your energy on those steps you can take to solve or at least lessen your problems. For instance, let's say you are feeling a little tired lately. Instead of telling everyone how lousy you feel, make an effort to exercise more regularly or get to bed a little earlier. To review, complaints are work against you in three ways. First, no one wants to hear negative news about your illness and your problems. Second, complaining reinforces your own pain and discomfort. So, why keep replaying painful and negative memories? Third, complaining by itself accomplishes nothing to drivers from your own constructive actions you could be taking to improve your situation. If you're all wrapped in yourself, you're all overdressed. Kate Halverson. It's have been saying that 90% of the people don't care about the problems and the 10% people are glad you have them. Seriously, though, you all of us can cut down our complaining from now on. Let's do ourselves and thus a flavor and make our conversation uplifting. The people who don't complain in very much and those who speak positively are joy to be around. Decide to join that group so people won't have to cross the street when they see you upcoming.